Welcome to the Daughters of the Road podcast. In this space, we envision cultivating a community that inspires, empowers, and supports women in motorsports culture. We seek to engage in lifelong adventure, create perpetual bonds between sisters, and hone in skills necessary for navigation throughout life. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Brandy.
And we are Daughters of the Road. So I was referred to our guest today by Cristian Sosa of Sosa Metalworks. And if you know Cristian, you know that you can't take his referrals lightly. Sity is actually a machinist by trade. She's from Globe, Arizona.
She builds motorcycles out of her living room that she transformed into a shop. Lifts, toolbox, and all. Sity was in Vegas this weekend to take her third metal shaping class with Sosa Metalworks and Japhands Kustoms. At the top of the week, and to top off the weekend with some dirt bike riding and then continuing her fast-paced education into engineering.
So it's been incredible to have the opportunity to cross paths this weekend and actually get you on the podcast to hear your story today. We're so excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, guys.
Hell yeah. So we know you must be beat after a whole weekend of literally beating metal and then going out camping and riding dirt bikes. You know, like I'm actually exhausted, like just saying that. So
yeah,
That's a
crashing.
lot.
How was it?
It was amazing.
Yeah?
I've never rode in sand, so that was pretty challenging, but it was great. I fell a lot, like, but it was worth it. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that comes with the territory of riding a dirt bike. Like you brace yourself because you're gonna fucking fall.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And when you say you fall, what do you mean? Like, did you
like straight over the hand, yeah, like straight over the handlebars? Like, I'm gonna go for it, you know? And then
Send it.
yeah. There was like a nice helmet print right in the sand, you know, like. Yeah, it
Just marking your territory, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. I tore my shirt, and I'm not gonna fix it. Like, that's part of it, right?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Like, yeah, look what I did.
Oh yeah, it's a battle wound, a story for next time.
Yeah.
We're like, who burned your shirt?
Yeah.
Well, what had happened here? So tell us about the class this time. I mean, what was your goal going into it? This is your third time, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So this time going into it, it was really cool because they actually had blocks set up for us to do it manually. And I worked a lot that way this time. This class, I was kind of my husband's cheerleader. So it was his first time taking the class. And I really wanted him to have this opportunity finally because I am not a teacher. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of what it was about this time around.
Hell yeah, but you still got to get in there and work on stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, of course I'm
nothing's
gonna
stop me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm there before the guys. Like, like I'm gonna turn these machines on. Are you guys awake?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So break it down for us. Can you tell us a little bit more about the class that you've taken? Like, for somebody that's never ever does not know what it is. Well,
yeah.
How would you explain it?
Yeah. So well, I'm gonna just tell you like my perspective, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So like when I first took this class, I was, I wanted to take bikes to a different level. I had these ideas in my head, and I was like, I have to get exposure. I gotta figure out how to do this, how to, how these guys do this, And I saw a post online. I didn't even know who Cristian was, but it said that he was gonna be putting on this metal shaping class. And I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna just try it out, And I knew nothing about it. I walked in his shop. I didn't know what an English wheel was. I didn't know what a hammer was. Like I didn't know a shot bag. I had no clue. I'd been around cars and shops, and I even managed a paint shop, But I didn't know that part of the world. So the first time was just like exposure. It changed my life. You know what I mean? It put me in the direction I needed to go to get all these creative thoughts and drawings and stuff that I've put together out and move in a direction. And it hasn't been easy. Like, you get in there and you think, yeah, I'm just going to make this. And then you're like, it's not that easy,
Oh yeah.
Especially when you haven't grown up with it or had previous exposure. But the first class was awesome. Absolutely. The second class was hard to take. It was hard for me to take because, it's like, I've already taken it once. What am I going to take it again for? And like, I really had to kind of like get over myself and be like, no, like I need help. Like I gotta get in there. And so the second time around, I learned more about the concepts, and I wasn't so overtaken by all the stuff. And by then I'd already bought everything I needed, including the Shape-O-Matic.
Oh, wow.
So I'd been practicing at home and already got things to a certain point. I'd already done some fabrications for some people, small things, that I could handle.
Yeah.
And then for my own ambitions, which I always kind of shoot, I feel like I'm always shooting over the top. So it's always going to take a little longer to get those shapes that you want. So I took that second class and kind of got in there and figured out what I needed to do. And then this time around, I'll tell you what I learned is, Carl, he's part of Japhands Kustoms. So he really showed me some good techniques on hand shaping, just to get in there. So that's kind of what I took from it. And anybody who's out there that wants to, try to move metal for like fenders or tanks or even cars, for whatever. I'm just into bikes. But.
Yeah. Yeah, both Sosa and Carl of Japhands Kustoms have YouTube channels where they are diving into more specific little skills that you can kind of visualize. And then when you get into the class, I think at least that would be a little bit more helpful so you can visualize what kind of shapes you're making and why you're making certain creases and stuff like that. Because I did watch some of Carl's stuff, and then it kind of made sense when Cristian was literally showing me what's happening in front of me,
Yeah, you did really good.
I had a little crash course. I haven't taken the class, but we're planning on that later.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's rewind a little bit. Like, what's your origin motorcycle story?
Well, so like I kind of grew up around bikers, biker clubs and stuff like that, MCs. And so my dad was really, he wasn't in a club. He actually developed this writing group of people where we didn't have patches or anything, and he called it the Independent Writers. He was one of the originals, and their slogan is no rules, no dues, no shit.
Hell yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. We did a lot of stuff, and it was great. So I got to ride on the back with him, and so when he passed in 2003, okay, and I mean, as you can imagine, it was devastating.
Yeah.
Well, when let me back up a little. When he got his bike, he had a I'm a little nervous. What was it? It was a V-Star. Okay, he had a Yamaha V-Star, and that's just like what he could afford at that time. So he had it, and it was like this dark red burgundy bike or whatever. And then he finally got his Harley, and it was kind of matching, like in the color scheme. So he gave that bike to my mom, and these bikes became Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That's
and they were just
dope.
that was his
so
ride or die,
cool.
right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So anyway, when he died, at first my mom, she was gonna, she was like, yeah, maybe I'll give you Bonnie, you know what I mean? And then it just freaked her out. She's like, I can't do it. So she sold the bikes, right? And I tracked down my father's bike and I bought it back. I made it mine. And
That's amazing.
yeah, and then after that, I was like, look, I have to know how to fix it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just kept progressing and progressing. But yeah, and I mean, you're talking about origin, so I'm gonna back up a little more. Like right after my father died, there was this guy that was coming around that he had a machine shop in town, and he had this real little house, and this huge shop, and everybody would come to him to get things, just machined, lathe, like, hey, can you clean this up, whatever, And I had only been over his house one time with my dad, who was just getting like a little part like trimmed or whatever it was. And he came over to the house to pay his respects to the family, right? And so we were talking about, my mom and I were talking about the bikes, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to ride yet, I'm gonna need somebody to teach me to ride. And he was kind of flirting, a little bit, and he was just with my mom, and he was like, well, I'll teach you. And I was like, really? So I don't think he had any intention of really doing it. And I was like, yeah, I said, well, I'll come over to your house. So like things started to progress, and I started showing up at for the shop, not the bike. I started showing up at his house before he woke up, like before the sun came up, and I would just sit on his porch, and he's like, you're here again? And like it just kept happening this way. And then one morning, finally, knew I was going to be out there, and he because I was like, you need to teach me to weld. You need to teach me to weld. You need to teach me to weld, you know? And so he finally came outside, and he's like, well, if you're going to be here, you might as well come inside and make me sweet tea. So I was like, yeah, done. And then so pretty soon he was showing me how to weld, and I was going on jobs with him, and that's how I started welding. And then I'm like, so when are you going to teach me to ride this bike? And he was like, all right, come out here. And there was this custom chopper that he put together like years ago, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna let you do this because you can't mess it up, you know, like. And so he's like, you have any questions? I'm like, yeah, I need to know how it works, you know. So you know,
step one.
Yeah, step one.
How does it go?
Yeah. Yeah, I know you like pull something and like, you know, I don't know. And so he showed me everything, and then he goes, all right, are you ready? And I said, yeah. And he kicked the bike over, and I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, pick it up. And I'm like, what? And he's like, if you can't pick it up, you can't ride it. And yeah, and he's like, you're gonna drop it at some point, so you're gonna have to pick it up. And he let me fight with it for a while, and then he's like, all right, you're gonna hurt yourself. Come over here, let me show you how to do this, you know. So that's kind of where it all began, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so freaking true. I remember it was unintentional. I know my dad didn't expect me to do this, but I got my motorcycle license on one weekend, and then the next weekend we rode to Sturgis from Florida, so 5,000 miles. But literally, I had packed up my bike, and we sat down. My dad started going, and we're like, all right, we're gonna start this road trip. Literally dump the clutch, fall over. And I'm like, I'm gonna die on this damn road trip. Gonna die. And then I look over at my dad, and I'm like, I'm 17, so I'm like, I just don't know what I'm doing. And then he was like, pick it up. I'm like, excuse me? Like, Dad, I need your help. Like, what? And then he was like, no, pick it up. You need to be able to pick it up. You know, if you're going to ride, you're going to fall. And I did. I dropped that damn thing, like, every gas station. Like, no regrets, no. Like, I learned how to deal with my shit. So, and I dealt with it at a young age. So I'm really stoked that he told me to do that, because then that gave me the confidence to, like, keep it rolling when something happens, you know? Yeah, so absolutely. I agree, 1,000%. That's a good tactic.
Yeah. So did you pick it up?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I struggled.
Yeah.
He had to show me that, like, that center gravity point, and how to, you know, stick your knee under the tank and roll it in, you know, roll it back, and that whole thing. But yeah, no, eventually I did. Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah. And that was like a chopper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually heavy, because it had like the big back tire and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and actually when he was showing me the sweet spot, he's like, all right, so I don't got pegs or anything, so I'm going to show you how, like, the sweet spot before you shift, right? And I was like, yeah, all right. I'm like, well, how are you going to do that? And he's like, you're going to sit on the fender and wrap your legs around me. That's like those are choppers, and, you know, and I'm like, okay, you know, like, yeah, let's do this, you know, and I was a lot tinier then, so I was holding on for dear life. I was a little monkey back. I'm like, you know, and then finally we get down these roads, and he pulls over, and I'm like, oh no. I was thinking, shit, what's wrong with the bike, you know? And he's like, hey, stay right here. And he hops off, and I'm like, he's gonna go piss or something. And he walks behind the bike, and he bumps me forward, and he's all, go! And I'm like, I can't. He's like, oh, you can. You're gonna do this.
Oh my God.
So he just kind of threw me into it, you know? It was awesome. I rode that thing until I couldn't pull the clutch in anymore.
Oh my God.
With him on the back.
That's so rad.
That is.
That's an awesome
Yeah, the first time I get to ride a bike, and there's a guy on the back.
I know, right? That's a good prelude into this.
I rode a chopper. My first bike that I ever rode, like, on the street was a chopper too. It was a Big Bear chopper. Yeah, a BMC. It was a Big Mike chopper.
Big Mike
BMC.
So
yeah. Anyways, it was scary, because it was like super long on the front, big rear tire, and they were like, okay, if you can make it down the street, you can go to class. And I'm like, well, I'm going to class anyways, but I'm just gonna try it anyway. So I went down the street. And that was the first thing I rode too.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was on a little Sportster, but you know, not as cool.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Still did it.
Yeah, still did it. You know. So, what led you into the passion for building motorcycles?
So I don't know. I just have always liked doing things with my hands. You know, that machine shop that the guy who taught me to do all this stuff in was just mind blowing for me. Like, my mind is always wrapping around like the technicalities of how things are made and done, and that just opened up like a world for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I got in and started wrenching on my motorcycle, and then realizing how complicated. For somebody like me, it was really complicated, you know? And I was like, wow, not as much as cars, but like still, you know, there was such a difference from one bike to another, and they all have this individual fingerprint, you know? So yeah, like I just wanted to dig in deeper. And, you know, I've been an artist for a long time, so I would look at bikes and I would just see certain things, certain flows. And like when you ride a bike, so this is the biggest thing that made me want to change motorcycles, okay? Because like, why change something that's good, right? But so when you're riding, you know, you get into that groove when you're out there, right? And pretty soon everything falls away from you. Yeah. And then I don't know about you, but I have a radio in my head. And so like songs come up depending on that moment, right? And pretty soon you're moving that bike with that music, you know?
Yeah.
And that is what led me into the bike. So like here, I'm going to tell you a story about the first bike I ever put together, right? It was my build, but it's all modified, right? It was my first. So there's a lot of stuff I still didn't know and whatever. So I was putting this bike together. I bought this ratty old chopper, you know, and like I was like, man, I don't know what I want it to be, you know, and I tore it down, I tore it apart, I tore the engine apart. I was putting everything back together, and I'm like, man, what kind of design? What do I want? So I walk out of my room. I live in my shop by myself, right? So I walk out of my bedroom and I turn on my record player, and I had BB King on the, yeah.
The mood.
Yeah. So like, you know, I'm half asleep and I like turn the coffee maker on, and you know, it's like, you know, like, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I just walked over to the bike and put my hand on the throttle, and I opened my eyes and I just saw it.
Oh
and I was like,
gosh.
Yeah. So I named her Lucille right after his guitar, you know? And
amazing.
And then I just started building it off of that, you know? What I saw, like I fabricated the sissy bar, and like across the back of it, I put like brass threading. I made it black, put brass threading up the back, so it's like the guitar hand. You know?
It's the soul of that. Like
right.
Everything you felt.
So I was doing all these little things to it, and you know, it still wasn't what I wanted. You know, no, not at all. I'll tell you where that bike is right now. It's in my boneyard. It is. It's.
You're done with it.
Well, I'll come back to it, but it's just that the reason that I fabricated it the way that I did is I was trying to figure it out. You know, I didn't want to just make something that looked pretty. I wanted to get on it, and I wanted BB King to play in my head when I rode that bike.
Yes.
I wanted it to be like as I'm riding it, you know, that was the inspiration, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's guided me. It's not just music, but it's just looking at something and just seeing that ride, that flow. And that's what I put into all the designs that I've done. And now it's just a matter of perfecting it. You know, I'm kind of a perfectionist. I think all artists are. We're all perfectionists with our art. We have a certain thing in our head, and when it comes out here, if it's not exactly what we envision, then we're like, it's crap. I want to do something else.
Right. Can we start over again?
Oh no.
That's how I'm just saying, like, when you see it and you're like, it doesn't come out exactly how you want it. Like when you look at something, you're like, dang, that's not how I envisioned it. Shoot, I'm just going to start all over. Can I just break it all back down and start all over? That's how I do things, because I'm like, oh yeah, that's not it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, that's so much better than being paralyzed by the fear or the analysis paralysis, like where you're just constantly like, oh, I kind of want to do this, I kind of want to do that. I find myself there a lot where I'm like, that's not the perfect idea. And then I just don't even do anything yet because I'm like, I'm not there yet. Yeah, you know what? I kind of came into this wanting to talk about that, actually, because we all get it. Yeah. All right. You know, I know that, like, okay, so like that bike, right? I put that bike together, and there are parts on it that were made by other people. And I'm not talking about the engine. Like, I'm not going to make an engine, right?
Right.
Like, it's already been perfected. You know, Harley's doing a great job. You know what I mean? And so is RevTech. And so, you know, like, like, yeah. But the bike, that's the art. So I put this thing together. It was already a custom frame, and I modified it to make it mine. You know what I mean? Like what I put into it. And then like with the sissy bar, for instance, you know, I put it up and I rode this thing around and everybody was like, oh my God, it's so sick. It's so badass. Hey, you got to check out what this girl did and da-da-da-da, right? And the more that people saw it, the more I hated it.
Wow.
I hated it because of what you're talking about. It froze me because I was like, now I'm taking away what people like, but that's not who I am. That bike is not, like even the sissy bar, because I wrote it, I wanted it to sing, right? So that sissy bar moved and it messed up the fender that I put on there, you know? It tore it up. Also, I had to like refab it and like cut into it so it made it weaker, because if not, the like 4-inch belt that was on it was gonna like rub. And so there's all these little like things, you know, and it's real easy to beat yourself up and to just be like, and I'll be honest, as much as it's in the boneyard and I'll get back to it and I moved on to other projects, I did give up on it. I did. I was like, fuck this bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just kind of threw it to the side. And I wanted to mention that because I think that there are a lot of girls out there that are afraid to start because it's so intimidating when you have all these guys around you and girls, but you're going to have in this world, there's going to be a lot of guys around you, guys that have been able to tinker with their friends since they were teenagers, you know? And, you know, I mean, I'm in my 40s, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like I got to start young, you know? I started in my 30s, you know what I mean? I think it was like, I started in my 30s. So, and it gets really intimidating out there, but you can't let it stop you, you know, make something,
right?
Just do it. And then if you take it out and people are like, that is a clown car right there, then you're like, well, at least I did something.
Absolutely. Right. Think of all the things you learned along the way.
That's right.
Like, that's what it's just like a stepping stone for what you're going to create next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you get to look back. Yeah, you get to lock back and be like, hey, remember that clown car I made? Like, you remember that shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Look at me now.
Yeah. And even if you never made it there, I mean, come on, it's the adventure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a thrill. It's the high. It's like, ooh, what's possible?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know along the way, like sometimes one thing that I just think is funny is that like you, especially in the social media world we have now, it's like you put something out there and you're like, oh, well, I'm working on this right now. And then you get thousands of fucking people's opinions about how you should do it, about like where you went wrong and everything. And that's what like, that can beat you down too, especially as somebody that's like still learning, you know? And it's like, you're grateful for the feedback a lot of the times, but like, it does get overwhelming where you're like, damn, like, should I actually be doing this? You know? Right.
Yeah. And I think sometimes things can get overthought too, because, you know, am I young enough? Am I pretty enough? I'm not even saying me. I see this in other girls. Yeah. Am I too young for this? Am I too old for this? You know, oh, well, I'm not that, you know, that bikini model sitting on a bike, and I'm not this, I'm not that, you know, I don't have backing. You're talking about, you know, even like time and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of people, you have to outsource, you know, and you have to use people, but at the same time, sometimes you don't have those resources. So where it might take this person who has a craft in their hand, or they have people who are helping them. They're making this, while they're making this, they're working on the electrical, they're doing this or whatever. And then you got someone like me who's got to do it all. I have this.
You're literally in your living room, right next to your kitchen.
Right.
That's
like,
so awesome.
Yeah.
So badass.
I got to see pictures of it. She showed me. It's so sick. We're gonna have to share some of those on the video, because it's neat. You can wake up and she's in her shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you guys. Like I'll show you pictures of the Shape-O-Matic too.
Yes.
When I put it into the so the living room is the bike shop. Okay, and then the master bedroom, because it was big, you know, I needed a big space. So that is the metal shaping room. So, you know,
Master bedroom.
I had to move out of that room. You know what I mean? It's all right.
I would sacrifice it for motorcycles. Yeah. I'd be like, oh, living room? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll show you pictures of like me actually putting it in there. And there's a lot of trial and error. Like I put, this girl was working at this shop and she's like, oh, I can get all this styrofoam for you. Can you do anything with it? You know, like make bucks with it or something? And I'm like, yeah, just bring it. Like, and so I was like, oh, I got a great idea. This hammer is so loud. Like I have to make sure my neighbors aren't home.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be in the middle of the day. You know, I shake everyone's houses, you know.
Oh my God. That's with the
Yeah,
Shape-O-Matic?
yeah, those hammers are gnarly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I eventually built a base to help dampen it a little bit and everything. But so I put styrofoam all over the walls in the master bedroom and then covered them in plastic so they wouldn't, you know. Yeah, it didn't. I should have used egg crate. You guys
Trial and error.
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Exactly.
What you doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a fucking shop in your house. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to
And
wake
what
up
is
and
it-
just go to it, right in your underwear, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to put your clothes on.
No,
I love
absolutely not.
it. That's a dream right
Right?
there. Yeah, I moved into a different house, and one of my requirements was a 3-car garage because, like, I'm already outgrowing my garages, and I put everything in there, and I'm like, shit, like, I still need more room. I'm like, how am I doing this? So, you know, eventually, I would love. I mean, if I had my choice, I'd just move it all into the house too. But you know.
Yeah, same. I'm like, barn dominium, here I come.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's the ultimate dream right
The
there.
goal.
Right,
Yeah.
agreed.
The goals.
I don't know how to make anything, but I still think it would be cool to have a collection of motorcycles in the house and be able to go out and be like, okay, cool, I want to take this one out today. Just pull out.
You don't know how to make anything yet.
Yet.
Yeah, you will.
You will.
I'm excited about that.
Yes, yes, and it's just skill building. And speaking of skill building, like, what skills would you recommend somebody that's new to all of this motorcycle building? What skills would you recommend for them to kind of lay that foundation for them to be able to create something custom?
Well, I mean, I can just straight refer you to
Christian.
Sosa and Carl. Like,
Hell yeah.
you know, yeah, because I mean, number one, those guys are super cool. You know, they're not judgmental. They're non-judgmental. You know, they're really laid back and they're really accepting, and there's so much exposure there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that would be my biggest recommendation is just ask the questions.
Yes.
You know, and get out there and expose yourselves. You know what I mean? Tell people what you want to do.
Yes.
You know, talk about it. You
Yeah.
know, and there's a certain point where talking turns into action, especially if you're serious about it.
Yep.
But have the conversation. You know,
Absolutely.
talk to people. You know, and remember, haters are always gonna hate. So
Absolutely.
don't worry about the haters. Okay, 'cause they're always gonna hate. What you do is you kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
I mean,
1000%.
yeah, that's what you got to do. So.
But I feel like there's always more people willing to help once
Yes.
you speak out your goals. I feel like people will just come out of the woodworks of like, I've got this friend or I've got the shop or something. And then somehow it just all comes together and you're like, oh shit, how did I get here?
Yeah. And that's like, okay, just like how I was like, look, this is what I want to do. Well, man, I don't have a shop. I don't have tools. I don't have any of this stuff. Like my husband is a master mechanic, right? And he lives somewhere else because of his career, you know? So, but I can always call him, and when he's home, he'll help me. Like, hey, yeah, let me help you troubleshoot this and whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I used the resources I had. You know what I mean? I'm like, do I really need this furniture? Nah, I don't really need it. Yeah, I'll sell it, and then I'll buy tools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, that's how it kind of started, and it was like one thing after another. Like, trust me, there were a lot of people that judged me, and you know, they did. I heard the little things, you know, like that, you know, like, oh, she's lost her mind, she must be on drugs, like, you know, like shit, like all these things, you know, until things started happening. And when you're doing it by yourself, it doesn't come overnight. Mm-hmm. So, and then when things started happening, they were like, oh shit, like she's actually doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just gotta tap into those resources. And you're right, things will come out of the woodwork. I took a college course just to use the welding shop, and it was just like this small town college, real cheap, you know, per semester, and I didn't care about the grade.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm here to use all your welders and your brakes and your, like, you know, your anvil, and I'm gonna use all this stuff. And the instructor that was in there, it was kind of frustrating because he didn't really know too much about welding. It's a welding class and like fabricate, yeah. But he didn't know a lot, and so I don't mean to be rude. Like,
Yeah.
no offense to anybody. Him and I are actually friends now. But back then I was like, get the fuck away from me. Like, and he's like, are you serious right now? And I'm like, yeah. You know, like, and so they'd be doing like projects and I'd be working on this motorcycle, right? And finally he came up to me and he's like, can I help you? And I'm like, yeah, hold this. You know, like, let's do this. And so he just like tried to see what he could do for me. And one day he was like, what are you doing right there? And I had to like drill a hole in this block, right? And I went to the drill press and I like welded this shit together and tried to make something sturdy so I could. He's like, no, you're not doing this. Like, and I'm like, oh, but it'll work. I'll go real slow, you know. Like, and he's like, no, you're not. I'll just take it next door to the machine shop and I'm like, wait, next door what?
There's a machine shop.
Wait, what? Yeah. And he said, well, it's not really offered. It's just old manual machines and it's for maintenance for the college. And I'm all, can I go with you? And he was like, are you serious? Like, I'm a pusher, right? I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm like, yeah, come on. So we went over there and it was just all these machines. And all of a sudden I was just like hands behind my back, like so nice. And he was just like, and then he goes, all right, I'm going to tell you something. He's like, I'm not really a welder. I needed this job. I know how to weld, but just like, you know, he said, but I've been a machinist for 20 years. And I was like, you need to teach me how to do this, you know? And he was like, all right. He's like, I want you here every Tuesday at this time. And we're gonna, and one day I asked him, I said, why, man, I was such a dick to you. You know, I was like, why do you got me in here? Like, you're spending time after work, because he worked at the mine as well. And you're spending time after work to come in here and teach me. And trust me, I did everything he said. You know what I mean? And I learned a lot. And like, what made you decide to do this for me? And he said, you know, this is an old trade. Nobody's going to take this information, and you just got such a passion for what you're doing. And I just wanted to give you something I think that you're going to take forward. And so you're saying, you know, like, you put yourself out there and you push through and you use whatever resource, you use garbage, you use whatever resource you possibly can, and you'll get there. You will. You'll get there.
I feel that. Even like with this podcast, like it was an idea, right? Like Kristen was like, hey, and I was like, hey, well, let's do that. Anyways, the amount of people and support that we've gotten in the last 3 months has been unreal. Like people that I didn't even think about, that I've had relationships with, right? Yeah. And they're like, what can we do to help? How can we help? Yeah. And it's been freaking amazing.
Oh, it's been
cool.
insane.
The support has been real. We see you. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So let's drop that in there right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I'm thankful for you girls too, for sure.
And we're thankful for you.
I know. Thank you.
So, back to your first build. So, what were some of like the personal touches that you feel most proud of? I know you talked about your sissy bar and how you want to just like kind of chuck it because it wasn't exactly what you wanted. But what were some personal touches that you're like very proud of and that kind of like propelled you forward?
That's kind of hard because, like I said, I kind of threw her in the boneyard, and I'm just like, you know, I think the thing that I'm probably most proud of about that build was that she surprised me. Do you know what I mean? Because like I thought she was junk, but you know that I won runner-up with that bike. And the first show I ever put her in, I was like stressing to get it done. It was actually before the Prowl. It was called Howlin' Prowl.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got to hear the history of that a little bit at Naco Chris's.
Yeah. That's a cool cat right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went to this show and we rode down there and we just stumbled across it. And back then, like there was you didn't pay to get in. It was tiny. It was just at the park, and there were all these like custom choppers and stuff. And I was building this chopper, you know. And I went up to a booth and I was like, hey, you know, what can I do to be in this show? And they were just like, just bring your bike, man. You know, like come next year and just bring it. So I was like, I got a goal. You know, like I got to get this done, you know, so I can go. And I fought that bike all the way there. Just, you know, like that's choppers.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's rad about choppers. And I got to go to the Prowl this year. And the love, like it's such a different environment. Like I've been to a ton of motorcycle events, right? but not anything like the Prowl. Like,
Yeah,
I'll go back
that's
to the
right.
Prowl every year. You have to come next year.
Yeah,
You
I'm
got
down.
me, man. Yeah.
Maybe we should
Good
build a
people.
chopper too.
Hey,
I know
got
the
one.
FXR is on the way, but
I got that shovel just waiting.
I think that should be a goal. Let's get both of them out there, the FXR and the chopper. That would be
Oh, Lord.
so sick.
Oh man, that would be way sick.
That would be dope. And we could all meet up and ride together.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Do it.
I'm like, I need some money. Like,
Or just resources.
yeah,
Hey,
you're
who's
right.
out there?
You're-
Just kidding.
You damn right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, I'm right there in Arizona. You know, you can come use my shop anytime.
Hell yeah.
So do we bring our tents?
Yeah, probably. Like every room's now taken by machines.
That's okay. I'll put a sleeping bag on the lift.
I'm really
Yeah,
good with
raise her up.
hammocks. We
Yeah,
just throw a
no, I
hammock
got-
between the lift.
Yeah, no,
the bike.
absolutely. Yeah, blow up mattresses. That's my friends are used to that for by now. You know?
I'm with it.
So you go to the Howlin' Prowl.
Yes,
Yeah,
What
yeah.
happens?
So yeah, like I brought the bike there and everything. Great time, you know, great people. But they were gonna do the announcement at like a certain time, and I got the time wrong. So I didn't have phone reception. You know, I knew some people who were in the like not in the show, but they were just there like hanging out that I met the previous year. You know, so I was hanging out with those guys. And I guess they were trying to call me, but I had no reception. I was down the street at St. Elmo's, you know, having a Guinness, cause yeah. and then I got back into the show and I walked up in there and all of a sudden people just like, hey, you won something, you know what I mean? And it was a lot for me. I didn't feel like I really deserved it because we were our worst critics, right? You know, and I wasn't always standing around my bike, so I knew that people actually liked the bike without being like, oh, some chick built it, or, you know, because that's a big thing. You know, you wanna be treated equal to other builders. You know what I mean? I'm proud to be a woman. I'm proud to be a woman who's going after this, but it's just really important that we're not just like segregated to like, this is a chick build. No, it's not a chick build. This is a build.
Yep.
It just happened to be made by a woman. But yeah, so it kind of blew my mind a little bit. And after all the hype and the excitement and the partying, and it was just like me and my man, I kind of took it all in, and I was like, what the hell? But it pushed me forward to be like, man, like I look at this bike and I'm like, this is a piece of shit. Like, so that pushed me to like keep going. I'm like, no, I got something here. Like, I just need to keep working at it.
Yeah.
You know, and just never give up, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love it because we talked about that before, about how at some events there are just like women's only categories where like you're judged against the other women builds. And it's like, I kind of struggle with that because I still don't know really how I feel about women's only things. I do feel like for some reason we hold ourselves back, and that's a good way to like incubate the confidence.
Correct.
And be
Yeah.
able to like rise ourselves to a level that we can compete on an equal plane,
And support each other.
and support each other. Yeah, but I'm like, how much do we have to push for this? Because like, I mean, women have been riding for so long.
Yeah.
Women have been building things for so long. There were fighter
Yeah.
jet mechanics back in
Yeah.
fucking World War I, II. Like, why are we still like this? I don't know. And it's like, when will that stop? So, I mean,
Yeah, and I don't think there's necessarily bad intention with, like, we all know when
Right.
it's bad intended,
Right.
You know, but I don't think so. I think it's really kind of getting this culture used to it too. I mean, like we've talked about, I've struggled with it as well, where I'm just like, no, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But overall, you know, you've got guys who are also trying to get used to it because they're used to being like, yeah, girls being like, not all girls, but some girls like, I'm gonna do this. And then when we break down, it's something, number one, they're not used to, but also sometimes things get passed off and they just end up doing it anyway. So they already have this idea in industrial work of because there's not very many of us, but we're still out there, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so that makes it tough. So you know, I had to learn that some of these like gatherings where they have these things are not just helping us women feel comfortable being in a situation where they're not just like, who's this chick, you know, but like there's other chicks there that are like, do it.
Yes,
But
building.
also it shows the guys like, man, these girls are really doing this shit, man.
Hell
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And
Yep.
it's slowly bringing us all together. You know, that pendulum's gonna eventually level out,
Exactly.
and we're all gonna be standing there next to each other, just being like, yeah, but have you seen this dude? Yeah, have you seen this chick? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
you know, it will. It'll get there, but we just have to keep doing this.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
We gotta keep doing
I agree 1000%.
100%.
Yes. So, in our previous conversation, I remember talking about your daughter, and how old is she, and like what are values that you hope to instill in her?
So she's 26, and she's wonderful. I actually I know that you asked me this question earlier, so I was like, thinking about all the things I wanted to say, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna call my daughter. Like, so what did I teach you?
Yeah.
What did I instill in you? What'd you get from me?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and she's like, well, Mom, you know, you always raised me for. Her name is Patience, by the way. Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? You know,
That was mainly for me.
yelling patience.
Patience.
Constant reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. And now she has 3 boys, 2 being twins. So now it's for her.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. But patience, love, and respect was always the 3 things. Like, I mean, she did tattooing for a while. She actually tattooed it on me.
I love that.
Yeah, that was actually her first tattoo. She gave it to me for Mother's Day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so patience, love, and respect, because literally they all trio with each other. You can't have patience without love and respect. You can't have respect without love and patience, etc. So that's what I kind of grew up on. And she told me, well, yeah, that. And then she said, the other thing is, so I grew up punk rock, right? And so my daughter was around a lot of punks. And I remember we had this party, and this guy from work, I invited him over, and he was very clean cut and everything, you know. We're like, yeah, you know, it's just, we're just gonna have this, you know, little thing. And her uncle at the time, he's not with us, but he had like this big mohawk. He's a tattoo artist, you know. He's got like, you know, everywhere. And she would do this thing where she'd open the door and she'd be like, come in. Come in. And she opens the door and she sees this guy, and he's just clean cut, and she goes, and she runs behind her uncle's leg, and all of us punks go,
It's the cops. It's the cops.
Who invited that guy?
So she was raised in this lifestyle, you know, and she said, you know, growing up that way, you always taught me, because we were the weirdos, right? We were the freaks. And so she said, you always taught me, you know, no matter how cruel someone is to you, just be kind. Even if you're mad about it, you know, and you got to go, you know, beat up your pillow later or whatever, just kill them with kindness, you know, because not only are you going to learn from it, but so are they, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So that's what she told me to tell you guys.
Oh,
That's awesome.
I love that so much. That's beautiful.
She's
Yes.
a good kid, man.
Yeah. I mean, obviously she's got a great example to look up to. I mean, that's fucking rad. And I hope more people get to learn that from their parents.
Limitless.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
not any
Yeah.
limits. You can do anything you want. You can create anything you want.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So who are your idols? Do you look up to anybody?
I do. I look up to Cristian Sosa.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, big time. And of course Carl. These guys are amazing, right?
Yeah.
But also Jesse James is I know, like, everybody knows, and you know, whatever,
Yeah.
but
Very talented.
I love Jesse James.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
Jesse James everything growing up. West
Yeah.
Coast Choppers was my shit. The pencil box, everything. My mom was like, "What do you want?" I was like, "That." She's like, "All right."
you know what I look up to him the most about? Where he came from, how he started. You know, where he started from, and how he just pushed. He just kept pushing. And he doesn't just do one thing. He's like an artist of many things, and he just keeps on pushing and keeps on capturing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I've always pushed forward for that, you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's like he has never stopped. It's not like he dropped off the face of the planet or anything. He's like you said, he just continues to do cool shit.
Yeah.
And just doing his life. Like,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
An artist at heart.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, for sure.
City, what's your next milestone? Where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? We always ask this question. It's a loaded one, huh?
It is, because you just, I'll tell you, there's a lot of this, like that I even told you that I don't plan. You know what I mean? I just kind of, I don't like the engineering thing.
Yeah.
I didn't get into engineering because I was like, oh, I'm trying to make all this money and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to make some money. But,
Yes.
But because it's gonna help me keep building, right? But I got into it because I was like, I have this one idea, and within this 5 or 10 years, I will have this bike. It's the ultimate. I have all these bikes, but there's this one.
Wow.
And when I first started it, I actually threw it around with my husband, because like I said, he's a master mechanic. So I was like, hey, this is what I see, and this is what I want to do. And he says, that is like physics. That is physically impossible. And I'm like, all right, we're going to put a pin in it. And then I started looking things up, and I'm like, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? And he was like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but that won't work, but we could do it like this, and it might. So we've been working it out, and we know we can do it now, but I have some skills to learn.
Yeah.
One of those skills is that I needed to learn to be a machinist, and then that continued on with 5-axis machining and all this top-end machining. The industry's changing so fast, and I've had some really great mentors that have given me some great opportunity to learn this field and to really jump in head first. So, God, who knows where it's going to go? I want to own a machine. I want to own my own shop, how long it takes, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. So, some badass bikes at least are going to come out of the next few years, but more than that, who knows? We'll see.
I
see what
love
happens.
that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens,
So I have a question. You said Howl and Prowl. What other events are you looking forward to? Is there anything that you're building a bike specifically for? What do you have going on? Like, what's next?
So I have a lot of love for the Prowl, especially with how that was like my first show. So I will always for them, right? But Chopperfest is something that my heart is kind of tied to.
Yeah.
And that's because of Jesse Combs. So one of the last things that she said to me, actually in Cristian's shop,
Wow.
was she said, man, you got to come out. I'm gonna do, cause like at Babes Right Out, she used to do like little female, get your bikes over here, let's judge them, let's have a little show and shit. So things have changed a lot since then, okay? But she was like, I'm gonna do like a female show, I want girls to feel like they can get in there. And she's like, you need to come to this show, get your bike together. And then she died. So I'm building something kind of special for her.
Ooh, that gave me the chills.
I know.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
dope.
something I want to do, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks of this bike or what they would do better. Just to let all you haters know.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Fuck the haters.
There's always going to be one.
Yeah, but that's something that's really important to me. But there's some great shows out there, aren't there?
Yeah.
There's some really great shows.
Oh yeah, it's hard to pick from. When we set up our schedule, it's like we have to be very intentional because we are all over the place. But there are some shows that it's just like you have to make it at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I still haven't made it to hand built.
I haven't made it hand built.
You haven't?
I think we should. Okay, there's our next goal. Like we're all gotta go
I'm
hand
down.
built.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down for that
Yes.
because I've heard nothing but good things about
Absolutely.
that show.
Me too.
And we've got
Absolutely.
people in Texas.
Absolutely. It'd be so easy to set up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
we
going
should
to
do it.
Texas.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
down.
do it.
I'll do it.
Yes. So, City, how do people follow along with you?
You can. I don't do a lot of social media because I'm too busy with my nose to the grindstone.
Yes.
But so sometimes it's sporadic. I'm not very good at it. But you can find me on Instagram, and that's _ Sity with an S, SITY _.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you again, City. This has been so freaking phenomenal.
Yeah,
I've
thanks,
loved this
guys.
conversation so much. And you're a very powerful source of inspiration. Like the way you talk, I don't know, it's just like you can feel that the passion's resonating within you. And it's like you've already done a shit ton, and like you're doing it. You're going after your engineering degree. You're building bikes. You have something that's stuck in your head, and it's like you've already done so much, but you're going to fucking accomplish so much more, and we know that. We can see it from like a mile away.
I really appreciate
And I'm super stoked that we got the opportunity to sit with you, get to know you a little bit more, and we're going to follow along, and we're going to be there to cheer you on.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And go to
guys.
Handbill.
Yeah, we got to do that.
And maybe
Yeah,
start our
really
own
fun,
shows. Who
man.
knows?
Hey, I'm not mad at that
mad at
idea.
it
Don't
either.
put things in my head.
Exactly.
Sweet.
So, Brandy, you want to give us a little lowdown on what's happening at Red Rock Harley?
Oh, yeah. So we got a lot going on at the dealership right now. This week we have our first bike night. So we have a bike night on Thursday night from 5 to 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. 8 p.m. We'll have Axe Monkeys. We've got Pizza Stoned is back. We haven't seen Madison in a while, so we'll have pizza. And then we've got Horse Trailer Hideout. Marissa, I'm super stoked to have her back at the dealership. So it's going to be a great night. And then this weekend, we're going to restart our service barbecues. So we'll have hamburgers and hot dogs on Saturday at the dealership from 11 to 1 while supplies last. And yeah, I think that's this week. We actually have a blue collar build off. So funny. So I built a bike once, or I attempted to build a bike.
You did.
It was fun. It was so fun, but it was called the blue collar build off. We actually hosted at our dealership. Now I work for Red Rock Harley, and we hosted there, but it was so funny because you have $1,000 budget and you've got to build a bike in 30 days. And
It's not really.
yeah, and
That is gnarly.
nothing. I had never ever done anything. I've sat in the shop with everybody and I've put bikes, I've told people what I want to build myself a motorcycle, but never ever did it hands on. It was cool. My favorite part was wrapping the pipes with the, anyway, I don't even know what it was. It was great. But anyways, so we host that at the dealership. I went to start it the day of the competition, and the starter was bad.
Aww.
So it didn't start. I was so bummed. I
Aw.
literally was there every day. And it was funny because I had started with a team of girls and everybody's like, oh, I'm on board. And then when it came time to grind, I was there by myself. But I was still determined to get it done. But unfortunately it didn't start. So, but anyways, we host that at the dealership. That's coming up this Thursday, not this Thursday, the 23rd.
Hell yeah. So it just means you got a redemption round coming up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we should do something in the maybe next year or something.
Yeah, that'd be
but-
rad.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would.
it'd be
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, that was my first experience trying.
That's awesome.
But it didn't defeat me because I still want to do it. Whenever Kristen talks about stuff for the FXR, I'm so pumped to be under her wing and to figure stuff out and hand her tools. I don't know the names of them. Probably won't even remember them, but I'm still stoked about it. It's
No, you will
the
learn.
adventure.
You will learn.
Yeah, we should do a whole girls class together, honestly.
I'm so ready for
So we've
that,
been in
for sure.
Christian's ear about that too, because I was there's so many women in Vegas that ride that I think that would take away a lot
And
from them.
yeah, his daughter is building a bike, so that that's a perfect opportunity for her to feel safe around a bunch of other women.
Yeah.
And grind it out.
Yeah. We'll all
Yeah.
learn together.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So sorry, Red Rock, I was totally on a tangent. Then got
Yeah,
super
no,
sidetracked, but
that's
that's
awesome.
totally me.
Yeah. So big shout out to Sosa Metalworks for giving us an introduction to you. I mean, that is so rad. He said straight up, he was like, I've got the perfect person for your podcast. She needs to have her story told. So that I'm super thankful for that. He's a local Las Vegas metal shaper and motorcycle builder. And literally you walk into that shop and you feel it. There's a soul in there that breathes life into you. So it's so cool. And if you want to go to one of his classes, him and Japhands Kustoms typically team up and do, is it 3-day classes, right?
Yeah.
3 or 4 day. So yeah, they hold multiple day classes and feed you. They have the best barbecues. They fly in Chris from Bare Bones Garage from Texas, and he straight up does all the cooking. It's amazing. I go there
good
for
time.
the cooking for real. So yeah, if you're interested in that, follow along with Sosa Metalworks, Japhands Kustoms. They'll be posting the schedule as soon as, I know they're taking a little bit of a break, but they'll be coming back with that. But yeah, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We look forward to
you.
the next one. All these stories are just so so beautiful in their own sense. Like we've had so many different podcasts with so many different women, different stories, and this is, you know, just another beautiful, beautiful one that I think people will take a lot from.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.